Cooley. This is the Creativity Show. Thanks for being here. We're going to continue creating in front of you, sharing the pre-recorded stories from my memoir, Incandescence, Rising Above Darkness. And today we're going to continue with the stenciling. Because it's such a great way to start. There's so many different uses for stencils, like clothing, which Bodhi, you could show the close-up of this iris stencil. And there you go. And there's also a close-up of the jewelry. I often take different parts of things and combine them to make this jewelry. And so that's another use for our creativity, wardrobe, jewelry. And today we're going to show you in our entryway over 80 different examples of stencils I've done very recently, from art to wear to home decor to note cards that can be used for invitations, fine art. So are you ready to show that?
I'm out here and I have to click that out here.
Okay, so
hello everybody.
This is Bodhi, my technically facile son, Bodhi the movie maker, his YouTube channel. And so now we are.
It's showing and your mic is still on.
Okay, so he's starting in the back of the tree. That's our all season, any reason tree that had the historic looking examples of the stencils, which I didn't even count when I was counting up over 80 different stencil examples. Here are cards that can be used for invitations or thank you or Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, Happy Birthday, Happy Anniversary, Happy Every Day, Happy any reason. And then here is a scarf that has the flowers, and here's the spring tree that's all about flowers and feathers. And so the note card size was hanging from the tree, all in gold. And these 4 kimonos are for my Essence of Everything, inspired by the 4 seasons. And here's some fine art uses, examples. My scroll design frame, these flower stencils, easy, I think delightful design possibilities with the florals. So in that little area right there, I counted and I forgot the back of the tree. So there's probably close to 100 different examples of ways we can use stencils, from home decor, paper, book covers, journal covers, invitations, and art to wear. We can use them on furniture. I have platters, vases. So that's why I'm sharing the stencils. We have 15 of the flower designs out on Patreon for my members for no extra fee. And there's 3 more flowers before I get into the warblers and wildflowers, which I will show you in a moment. But anybody can purchase any one of them, something like $3 on my web store or through Patreon. But my members get them for no extra fee. The 15 that are out now, there'll be 3 more flowers, and then it will start the 26 warblers and wildflowers. Then we'll go into the 12 cranes, and we'll just keep going. Nature is my muse, so there'll be lots of natural design. Nature, the master designer, is where I get my inspiration, and in hopes that it helps inspire us to live in greater harmony with nature and with one another. Creativity is the source for peace and our imaginations, for solving problems, enhancing our lives. So that's what I love sharing is creativity. It saved me, and it can help you and everybody. The more in touch we are with our imaginations, the more we can enhance our lives. The more we express our emotions creatively through writing, painting, drawing, the more we stimulate our immune system for healing. And there's a lot of challenges in life for all of us. And creativity and its expression is how I have risen above mine and continue to do so, which is why my memoir is called Incandescence, Rising Above Darkness. So we're going to hear some stories pre-recorded while I'm painting in front of you today, more of the stencil designs. But Bo, could you come out and show the warbler and wildflowers before we get into the painting and stories? So here's a big scarf I did that is all the warblers, and then the in gold on this black scarf, and then these pink stencils were used on outfits I've shown in different live streams. So I'm going to continue using the warblers and wildflowers, and in fact I'm going to use this donated graduation robe to make into art to wear, and that's going to happen when after the next 3 flowers come out as SVGs, then I get into this project. So we just keep the creativity going, keep the happiness flowing. And so let's turn on this camera, and I will start. Oh, I need to get some stencils to work with. There's always so much going on. We'll take these 2 over. These are stencils, large and small, with the SVGs. You can print them out from your computer to any size you like. So for whatever use you choose. So is this camera in the right place if I work here?
Check it out in a sec here.
We come a little this way. How's that?
I haven't checked it out yet. All right, how's that look now that you can see? What are you attempting to do? Okay.
Just a teeny bit this way, but that's working. There we go. Okay.
Cool.
Great. Okay. So now let's start a pre-recorded story. Unless there's anything I should address before.
We'll check if there is any.
And then I'll start painting.
Cool. Hello, everybody. So Joni B said, fantastic collection of stencils in your entryway. Love it. And Michael B said, looking wonderful.
Thank you. I really appreciate you guys being here. It is, I like to call them virtual visits because it feels like a virtual visit. And whoa, let's see if I can use my. I find that for some reason I'm stronger. Oh, yes. When I sit down to open these. Don't hurt yourself, Mom. Thank you.
You did all the hard work.
I did. I loosened it up. Whoop.
Okay. Cool.
We're all good.
Staying safe.
We're all good and we're all safe. We did have the traumatic couple live streams ago where I didn't put the lid all the way on and went to set it down and it went flying. That was pretty exciting. I am ready. "35. Dancing into Communist Party headquarters. Before my first trip to Europe, my traveling companion asked, 'Where do you want to go?' 'Everywhere.' So we charted a 13-country trip, beginning in the United Kingdom, then France, Belgium, Netherlands, Denmark, Norway, Sweden, Finland, Germany, Czechoslovakia, Austria, Italy, and Switzerland. I was curious about everything. Every art museum, the local people, regional food, varied architecture, and different countrysides. I wanted to see it all. There was only one place in particular I felt certain I had to go because it was so vivid in a dream. I researched and discovered it was the Charles Bridge in Prague, Czechoslovakia. As soon as we got there, I saw an artist selling his prints to tourists. When our eyes met, we felt like we already knew each other. There was an immediate, mysterious connection, perhaps because we were both artists. Though he was Czechoslovakian, he spoke fluent English as we talked for hours. Later, his wife joined us for dinner. After dinner, he took us to another place full of happy drinking people. When it got too loud, we went outside and continued talking as we walked around the grand old city. The variety of elegant architecture was stunning, while the number of stalled reconstruction projects was heartbreaking. He explained it was a combination of the communist takeover and the apathy of the residents. As a result, everything moved at a slug's pace. Building after building was wrapped in scaffolding, most decaying, many on the edge of ruin. This once elegant city was like an exiled old queen in torn and tattered clothing, stately but suffering. The citizens seemed as broken down as the buildings. It was clear the system was not working. Our new friend said his family had been on a waiting list for a one-bedroom apartment for years. The faces of the local people in the streets showed resignation. Only the tourists smiled, made noise, or looked happy. A group of Spanish students were singing and playing a game. Our new friend was disturbed by this and said, "We have to get away from them." I could see he was frightened by the idea of them drawing attention and the communist guards showing up. It made me sad that these innocent students could attract danger because they were having fun. We returned to talking of uplifting things, like his love of windsurfing and my love of dancing on roller skates. He asked for a demonstration, and we arranged to meet the next day in a big park. He led us to a wide paved sidewalk in the middle of open fields. I put on my headphones and dance music and showed him dance skating. For a few minutes I felt carefree, like in Golden Gate Park in San Francisco, where I danced with lots of people skating, biking, skateboarding, and watching. But here, I noticed that even the children did not look. They had never seen such a thing as dance skating in the park before, but still, they showed no interest. The passing people were clearly too scared to hesitate, turn their heads, or draw any attention to themselves. I then realized how oppressive the government was and how much fear the people lived with. How much freedom I take for granted. I felt their pain, and righteous indignation welled up inside. I tried not to show my anger toward how the people were living under the regime, because he had to live with it while I got to leave. After we parted, we were so preoccupied with all the emotions this experience brought up that we accidentally drove into the Communist Party headquarters parking lot right around the corner. 2 guards with their hands on their machine guns immediately approached the driver's side of the vehicle, where my male traveling companion was sitting. They demanded document and kept repeating this, seeing the German license plate on our rental car. Every hotel gives its visitors passes and keeps their documents when they check in as collateral until they pay their bill and check out. From where we were, we could all see the boat hotel sign that matched our passes. We kept pointing to it and showing them our passes. They just kept repeating document, louder and louder, even though they knew we did not have them. I let him deal with them until my rage about how hostile and disrespectful they were toward us and the enormous oppressive way they treated the people there came to the surface. And I said, matching their volume, "You know perfectly well we do not have our documents. We are tourists, and the hotel always takes your documents and gives you these passes that we are showing you. You can see the hotel sign from here. You think because you have machine guns, you can treat people any way you like, but you are just a couple of bullies with bullets. It is wrong the way you have broken the spirits of the people that live here, and you will not do that to me. Back up and let us pass, now." Perhaps because I was speaking English without an accent, or maybe because I was not intimidated by them, or no woman had ever spoken to them like this before, especially one wearing roller skates, as I had not yet taken them off. They backed away laughing. We drove back to our boat hotel silently. I realized I needed to leave this communist country before I ran into guards with machine guns that did not find my refusal to be bullied amusing. The next day, as we drove to the border into Austria, the border guard checked our trunk and then opened the back door of our car and put his knee into the cushion with enough force to break the bones of anyone we might be smuggling out under the seat. As happy as I was to be leaving, I was equally sad for all those who had to stay. Of all the beautiful scenes, classic architecture, kind people, inspirational art, and interesting events in the 13 countries we visited, this experience went the deepest. I knew I would never take freedom for granted again after accidentally skate dancing into party headquarters. Well, that was very interesting to hear with this much time has passed since the event and since I wrote about it or heard that story. And I feel many things. One is, wow, I'm so glad they found me humorous instead of insulting. And I tried not to be insulting while I was standing up for our rights, but I also lucked out. So I wouldn't advise. I would not recommend, telling off people that have automatic weapons. Yes, I'm listening.
Michael B said, love working with golden acrylics.
Thank you. So do I. They're so there's just so many possibilities, as many different colors as we choose to mix. And I start with one and then I add another little color to it so that I don't waste paint. And so I kind of start in a direction and go on the adventure of what color it's going to turn into. So, all right. Well, let's show the piece of art. As those of you who've tuned in before know, I have 68 pieces of art in my memoir, in between every story, because creative expression and nature as my muse is so important. But here's a piece called Dancing Lines Tango, the tango. I did a few of these very design. So I've done many sorts of art, many mediums, many different styles. So the dancing lines, I think, is very interesting. My skate dancing partner, Latif, of many years we skated together in Golden Gate Park and did performances together and such. He came to one of my exhibitions, and the name tags were not on the art, but this was the piece of art that was his favorite. Before he knew it was called Dancing Lines, the tango, which I thought was really interesting. All right, I'm ready for the next story. Woman who dreamt she was sleeping but is really light dancing. On a vision quest, I climbed up the tallest hill in the high desert to fast on the top of it in solitude for 3 days. I brought only water, matches, a teacup, a sleeping bag, a plastic tarp, rope, a hammock, toilet paper, a pencil, a journal, and a few power bars, just in case. The first night, I found a sheltered spot not far from the top and leveled the earth under the branches. I stretched the rope between the trees and put the plastic over it and the sleeping bag underneath it. I built a small fire and heated water in the teacup. I sat close to the fire thinking about the only thing I knew I wanted to do on my vision quest. I wanted to let all sadness and struggle go, so I decided I would write down everything I felt hurt by and everyone who disappointed me. Many things brought up tears with painful memories, which I let run their natural course. It took hours. The only certainty I had was I wanted to be thorough, with nothing important left off the list. My list grew as the day passed with nothing to distract me from feeling each hurt. Drinking my warm water was comforting and satisfying. As I walked away from my camp to relieve my bladder, I experienced the only loneliness I felt during my vision quest. While I was crouching, I said out loud, "I need a friend." Just then, a tiny iridescent hummingbird appeared right in front of my face, hovering in midair. It looked into my eyes with no fear, and I looked into its eyes with great gratitude. It stayed until I stood up. Then it flew a foot away and came back and looked me in the eyes again, and I said, "Thanks, little friend. I'm good now." And it flew away. I giggled and returned to the fire. Sitting on the soft earth, I finished my writing. I decided to read the list out loud and let nature surround me as a sacred witness. Crumpling the sheets of paper, I put them in the fire and they ignited. As they burned, I said a spontaneous prayer. Let the fire purify these hurt feelings. Let the wind spread it so far there is no heat left in them anymore. Just as I said this, I watched my perfectly level teacup lift straight up off the ground and move sideways until it was over the center of the fire. Then it turned upside down, extinguishing the fire. I laughed and got into my sleeping bag, pulled it up under my chin, and slept peacefully. On the morning of the third day, I moved to the top of the tallest hill. There, I collected fallen branches for a big fire. I wanted to keep warm and awake through the night on the last night. I gathered stones for my Vision Quest circle to enter before the sun went down, knowing I wanted to stay within it until the sun came up again. After I put enough fallen branches next to the stones to keep my fire going through the night, I strung up my hammock and laid in it for the rest of the day. Having not eaten for 3 days and knowing I wanted to stay awake all night, I decided to move as little as possible. I felt comfortable with the big empty spaces between my thoughts. Watching the gray clouds dance around the sky all day, it occurred to me late in the day that I had not asked for my Vision Quest name yet. So for the first time since I asked for a friend and thanked the hummingbird, I spoke. What is my name? Immediately a voice came into my head and said, "Woman who dreamt she was sleeping but is really light dancing." I laughed long and loud at my name and thought, of course, I could not have a name like Babbling Brook, Skipping Deer, or Soaring Crane. Then I had a serious thought, wondering if it was really my name. I decided to say it out loud to find out. I said, "Woman who dreamt she was sleeping but is really..." Just then the clouds parted for the first time all day as I said light dancing, and the sun shone directly on my face as I reclined in the hammock, and I knew it was my name. As dusk gathered around me, I placed the stones in a circle as I named who each stone represented. The last 2 stones represented me and me observing myself, which I placed last from inside the circle I would stay in until dawn. I started a small fire and placed the wood where I could reach it from my sleeping bag. As the darkness increased, so did the stars. I was amazed at the number of stars I could see as I watched the sky all night. Then the shooting stars began. I thought the reason I saw so many shooting stars was because I had not watched the sky until dawn in the high desert before. Later, I was told it was a meteor shower. Wishing on every single one of them kept me busy. I started with huge wishes: world peace, end to hunger, pollution, racism, sexism, elitism, ageism, and illnesses. Then I wished that everyone would find a sense of purpose, love, and joy. As the stars kept shooting, I had to wish as fast as I could, and I started wishing for things for myself, to be able to spin 13 times on skates, and to get my art published. To keep up with the pace of the streaking lights in the sky, my wishing had to become stream of consciousness. In an attempt to stay awake, I laid my head on the end of a stick with the other end in the fire. It did keep me awake, not wanting to fall into the flames. It was difficult for the first few hours, but then energy came into me and kept me alert without effort. I wondered why I had not ever chosen to simply observe the night pass into the day in silence before. After sunrise, picking up the last stone, I left the circle the same way I had come into it. The stones were everyone I had discovered, abandoned, tormented, pleased, dismissed, accepted, feared, respected, teased, taught, learned from, lost, loved, all of my ancestors and angels. There, on a high desert plateau, those stones had watched over the valleys and peaks for eons. I left them there to continue their vigil without me. I walked away weightless, free from blame, resentment, anger, or fear. I had set every burden down. Every doubt had slipped away. Every concern had evaporated. I was empty. I was full. I understood what was essential. It was not good to have a mother who lived compassion, nor was it bad to have a father who lived revenge. I was just born into the time and place I was born into, and what matters is what I do with it. I set down judgments, hopes, fears, expectations, burdens, desires, disappointments, and triumphs. My struggles are not interesting. Only how I transform them matters. Being born human is an opportunity. Let me not squander it. Empty of hurt, full of hope, I removed the last stone and set it aside to leave the circle. I felt like a woman who dreamt she was sleeping, but is really like dancing down the hill back to my life. Wow, I don't have to, but I choose to acknowledge that that felt really good to remember that and feel it again. That is what creative expression, writing, painting, dancing, music can do for all of us, is bring us back to the feelings or initiate those feelings. Feelings initiate thoughts. Thoughts make us smarter. Expressing them, as I say over and over, because it's so important, stimulates our immune system. So it's healing. It's increases our intelligence and problem-solving abilities to feel and to express them, helps us heal. Yes, I heard the Tibetan bell.
Michael B said, Mom loves the art. She especially loved the penguin and the cranes.
Thank you very much. That really makes me happy to hear that. I feel like nature flows through all of us. Creativity flows through all of us. I'm just a conduit for creativity like we all are. And I love it passing through me to others and inspiring others is the greatest sense of satisfaction. Yes.
And Joni B said, one of my favorite stories. I would like to do a vision quest like this. What kind of energy or entity do you think moved the teacup?
That's interesting you say that, Joni. Thank you for saying that. I was thinking about you during hearing this story, and um, I still, all these years later, don't have an answer to what moved the teacup, how that happened. And I think one of the most interesting things I've observed in life is I don't need an explanation. I experienced it, and I don't dismiss it because I don't have a rational explanation for it. If it, one would think wind, but that would have just knocked it over. But it raised up, moved sideways, and turned over. So I have no explanation, but I did witness it. And so I accept things that I can't explain if I witness them. If someone else witnessed it, um, that's theirs to accept, not mine. Uh, we can't really share our mystical experiences with anyone else, but the expectations that anyone else just accept it as fact because they didn't witness it. But I'm okay that I can't explain it. I do think thoughts make waves we have not been able to measure. Feelings make waves we cannot yet measure. And that is why we can think of others, or they can think of us, and we can feel it. We can see things. I have experienced sometimes before they happen, or connect with things that happened long ago, because the waves of thoughts and feelings, like love, are mysterious and we cannot measure them, but they do exist. That's so. Was it love? Was it my desire to free myself from the hurts and pains of the past that put out the fire? Who knows? Was it some other force in the universe? I don't know. I'm just glad it happened and I was there to observe it. All right.
Right, and then DBC on YouTube. I also love golden acrylics, many uses. I really love the flow of your lines. Prettiest flowers I've ever seen. And then MN on YouTube said, "This sounds like it should be a movie."
How wonderful for you to say that. My son, Bodhi, who you're hearing read these comments, has turned my memoir into, would you talk about that?
Her memoir is up for an award at the book competition as a part of Catalyst Content Festival, which is the world's largest independent episodic festival. And I adapted her book into a pilot episode screenplay and a season one TV show pitch. And those are also up for awards, and they will be featured in the table reads and the pitch competition at Catalyst this year in October. So that's pretty cool. So yeah, we're working on developing her memoir into a episodic series, and it's the first season is mostly focused on her early years and time in Orange County. But I totally agree that all of these are really great stories, and I think that would make a great short film or film. Will make something in the near future if it's not the episodic series. Cool.
Thank you. Thank you for that comment, and thanks for coming in, Bo, and saying that. Let's show the piece of art that was after that story, that is after that story, Star Nebula. So there we go, and we can move on to the next story. Dancing with Death. My mother did not complain about anything, even about her life-threatening asthma attacks. I do not remember a time when she did not periodically struggle to breathe. She described it as feeling like she was drowning. When she had difficulty, my father would get angry and blame her. My siblings were overwhelmed by fear and would get away from her struggling sounds. There was no one left to help her but me. I remember asking the invisible to please give me courage. I comprehended in order to have the strength to help her, I must not fight the fear of her death, but dance with it. Sometimes her struggling eyes looked to me for reassurance. I would take her hand and hold it in mine. Taking in a huge breath, I would imagine the oxygen I was taking in passing through me into her. With each inhale, I would focus on bringing in peace, and with each exhale, I imagined fear leaving. I would push out the end of each breath and empty my lungs so they would fill effortlessly. She would begin to follow my breathing, and I would nod and smile. Each inhale a little deeper. Each exhale was a little bigger. She and I would get more and more relaxed together. I would say what she would have said. It's going to be all right. This dance with death my mother and I would do sometimes happened at home or in the car, at a cafe, in an ambulance, or in an emergency room. The doctors and nurses would check in on us periodically, but often they did not even enter the room. They seemed to understand we were doing something the drugs could not do. At those times, she became my child, and I became her mother. It was an honor to give back a little of the tremendous support and love she gave me. During long illnesses, it was exhausting, but I did not ever resent it. It was my privilege to be there for her during her times of vulnerability. Then, while living with me in San Francisco, she had a coronary and respiratory failure on the city bus. For the first time, the doctors would not let me be with her. I felt helpless, so I did what I felt she would want me to do. I got out a big piece of paper and I put it on an easel. Putting my colored pencils next to me, I forced myself to stand before the emptiness of the blank paper. It reminded me of our separation, and tears welled up in my eyes. I wanted to fall to my knees and weep. Instead, I said, "For you, dear mother." And I picked up turquoise, coral, yellow, purple, green, maroon, and red-colored pencils. Moved by some inexplicable force, my hand drew a gently curving line. One at a time, each color danced across the paper. I gently filled out the lines, widening and thinning, curving and bending. Then brightly colored dots appeared on the page, as if someone else was drawing them. This vibrant drawing was like nothing I'd ever drawn before. It was joyous, with a carefree simplicity. How much it moved delighted me. I knew it would please my mother, and I felt happy. As I worked, my serenity increased. Whenever I stopped, anxious thoughts crept back into my mind, so I pushed on. The doorbell rang, and for the first time, my older sister had come to be with me. She never stopped pacing, smoking, and talking. She swung wildly between terror and anger. It gave her comfort that I was calm for a few minutes. Then she started to criticize me. I kept drawing, and she turned her anger on me, saying, "How can you draw at a time like this? Don't you feel anything?" I responded in a quiet voice, saying, "Actually, I feel a tremendous amount. I'm drawing to try to stay positive, the only way I can help Mom from a distance." My sister took a drag of her cigarette and blew it in my direction and stormed out of the room, saying, "I'm going out to get a drink." The next day, the doctor allowed me to see my mother. I brought the drawing I did the night before and set it where she could see it, and I told her I named it Dancing Lines. She loved it. When I picked her up from the hospital the next day, she asked if we could go to Golden Gate Park. She said what she wanted to do more than anything else was sit on a bench in the sun and watch me dance on skates. When I spun, she looked weightless. As I glided by, I could see she was free of gravity. Joyous in the moment, we were alive once again, dancing with death. Wow, that story, of course, I can feel the moments of fear I had and the not wanting to lose my mother's physical form to her death. But there's more joy in it than anything else because I still feel her with me all the time. And anytime I struggle, and I might start weeping if I go too far in this, not that there's anything wrong with weeping, other than it will run my makeup, so I choose not to on the live streams. I always feel her, and whenever I need her counsel, I just ask, and her words come to me. So I know love knows no limits. There is no time, there is no separation. When we love, we are connected forever. Yes, I heard the bell.
On YouTube, so much love in your stories. Heart emoji.
Thank you very, very much. I think it's what gives life meaning and joy, love and creativity, and that's what I want to share and spread and feel. So thank you.
And Joni B said, beautiful story. I began to well up myself.
Beautiful story. I didn't hear the rest. There's an echo.
She said, I began to well up myself.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Yes, we're all connected through love, and there's no distance love cannot cross. There's no amount of time, no space, no limitations to love. It is my personal belief, and I know I'm choosing to believe it. I do not have proof that that's what was there before the Big Bang was love. And my belief is that it was this tiny microscopic particle was so super energized by love that it burst into the universe and created first gaseous clouds that then a vibration went across the universe that coalesced this into elements, then to matter that then became heavenly bodies and suns that gave energy to the heavenly bodies, and then life. And my belief that it was love is because what does love want? It wants to be shared, it wants to be known, it wants to be felt, it wants to feel and see its own reflection. And so that is where matter and life came from. And I could be wrong, but who does it hurt? And it helps me to believe this, and that is what all religious doctrines, all religions, all good people, all thoughtful, deep people have in common, is the belief that love is it. And so that is what we should believe in, that brings us together instead of separates us in different belief systems. So there you go. All right. You want to show the piece of art?
You said that was yellow, white, rust wood.
There we go. So there's that. And do we have another? What time is it?
It's 12:50.
So perhaps you come out. We'll show this last piece of art. Before that last story, we showed Dancing Lines Tango, which is the drawing I did while I wasn't allowed to go see my mother at the hospital. That's the drawing I did, saying that would be what would help her the most if she knew I was doing what gave me joy and hope. And indeed, she said it helped. So we're going to share a couple things before we wrap this live stream up. One is this piece of art is after the next story, and it's called The Pond and Serenity Pond. And it's pen and ink. And we don't have a print like we're going to show you of the other pieces of art of it yet, but we will. We have prints of the Tango, Star Nebula. They're in glassine, so that's that reflection. And rust, yellow bird in rust woods. These are our archival museum quality limited edition numbered and signed prints in acid-free glassines, which is what we send them in or store them in so they never yellow. So this is something we make here because Bodhi is so clever and technically abled. What did Meg call it? I keep asking this word.
Expertise.
His expertise. He learned to make these beautiful prints that we don't have to up the price for someone else making them or putting them in galleries. We can offer reasonable prices because art should be for everyone. So these are our prints made here at the Emerald Lady. And so next, we're going to put out 3 more flowers for the SVG selection. And then we're going to move on to the warblers and wallflowers and continue with the stories while we're doing art in front of the camera. So thank you so much for being here. And I hope something here inspires you to explore your imagination and express your creativity. I believe that our imaginations are our superpower. Our creativity can be our best friend. It can be our counselor. It can be our problem solver, our advisor. So you can't be too creative. You can't have too much time connecting with your own imagination. That's how we solve problems, enhance life for ourselves, for one another, for the world. So let us all celebrate and enjoy our creativity. And I hope there's something here that's helped you. Yes, I heard the Tibetan bell.
Yep, that would be MMM on YouTube said, thanks for the stream. And then Michael B said, you inspire.
Thank you so much. It's my joy to connect with you all, and I really appreciate you being here and telling a friend and spreading the joy of our own imaginations with each other, with yourself, with the world.
And Joni said, thank you.
Thank you, Joni, Michael, MMM, all of you. I love you. Okay.